In the year 2147, Earth was a quiet place. People went about their lives without much worry. Technology had grown by leaps and bounds, but humanity still believed it was alone in the universe. There were no signs of alien life, no messages from distant stars, just silence. For most people, this was comforting. But for Alex Carter, an engineer working at an orbital research station, the silence felt strange, almost unnatural. Alex spent his days fixing satellites and testing new equipment. He loved his job because it gave him a chance to look down at Earth from above. The planet looked peaceful from space, like a blue marble floating in endless blackness. At night, he would talk to his childhood friend Mia Collins over video calls. Mia was a biologist who studied deep-sea creatures, and she often joked that her world under the ocean was as mysterious as Alex's world in space. One evening, while Alex was running routine checks on the station's communication array, something unusual happened. A faint signal appeared, coming from far beyond the solar system. It wasn't random noise. It seemed deliberate, like a message. Alex recorded the signal and sent it to scientists on Earth for analysis. Days later, they decoded it. The signal contained coordinates pointing to a distant star cluster. At first, only a few people knew about the discovery. But soon, rumors began spreading. Strange objects had been spotted near Jupiter's orbit. Some said they were asteroids, others claimed they were spaceships. Governments tried to calm everyone down, saying it was probably nothing to worry about. Still, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something big was about to happen. Mia shared his unease. "What if we're not alone?" She asked during one of their late-night conversations. "What if whoever sent that signal is coming here?" Alex shrugged, though Mia couldn't see him through the screen. "If they are, I hope they're friendly." As weeks passed, more signals arrived, each clearer than the last. Scientists worked around the clock to understand them, but answers remained elusive. Meanwhile, Alex noticed changes in how people acted. Some grew excited, imagining meeting advanced beings. Others became scared, stocking up on supplies or whispering about invasions. Even Mia admitted she was nervous. Then came the night everything changed. Alex was alone on the station when alarms blared suddenly. Looking out the window, he saw flashes of light near Jupiter. Squinting, he realized they weren't natural. They were ships, dozens of them, moving fast toward Earth. His heart raced as he contacted Mission Control. "We've got company," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. By morning, everyone on Earth knew. News outlets broadcast images of the approaching fleet. Panic spread quickly. Streets filled with people shouting, crying, or praying. Leaders held emergency meetings, but no one seemed to know what to do. For Alex and Mia, the sight of those ships sparked both fear and curiosity. Were these visitors friends or foes? And why had they chosen now to make contact? As questions swirled in their minds, one thing was certain: life on Earth would never be the same again. The massive alien vessel hovered silently in low Earth orbit, casting a shadow over the planet below. It was sleek and metallic, its surface shimmering like liquid silver. People all over the world stopped what they were doing to watch the news broadcasts. Scientists, politicians, and ordinary citizens stared at their screens, unsure whether to feel awe or terror. Finally, the ship spoke. A voice, deep and resonant, filled every radio and television channel. It wasn't just one language. It was thousands, layered together in an eerie symphony. The message was clear. Earth belonged to the Krylon Empire, a vast interstellar civilization that spanned hundreds of worlds. According to the Krylons, humans were primitive beings who posed no real threat. They demanded surrender, warning that resistance would be futile. Alex Carter sat frozen in his quarters aboard the orbital research station. He replayed the broadcast over and over, trying to make sense of it. Mia Collins called him moments later, her face pale on the screen. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice trembling. Alex nodded but didn't say anything. Words felt useless now. While chaos erupted across the globe, Ethan Blake, a retired military pilot turned farmer, watched the news from his small cabin in Montana. He had expected something like this eventually, aliens showing up, but not like this. Not so sudden, so overwhelming. As he sipped his coffee, there was a knock at the door. Standing outside was Dr. Rachel Kim, a scientist he'd never met before. "I need your help," she said without preamble. Her tone was urgent, almost desperate. She explained that she had been studying classified data for years and believed the Krylons weren't the only threat. There was another species, far more dangerous, called the Vorthak Horde. These creatures were biomechanical predators, devouring civilizations wherever they went. The Krylons, she claimed, were fleeing them, and the Vorthaks were already heading toward Earth. Ethan frowned. "Why should I believe you?" "Because if we don't prepare, none of us will survive," Rachel replied sharply. "You're one of the few people left who knows how to fight." Reluctantly, Ethan agreed to listen. Over the next few days, Rachel showed him evidence, images, intercepted transmissions, even fragments of destroyed ships recovered from deep space. The more Ethan learned, the more convinced he became that she was telling the truth. But convincing others wouldn't be easy. Meanwhile, Alex and Mia found themselves volunteering for a special task force led by Captain Laura Hayes. She was a tough, no-nonsense officer tasked with defending Earth against the Krylons. At first, Alex doubted he could contribute much. He was just an engineer, but Mia encouraged him. "We've got to do something," she said firmly. "If we sit back and do nothing, we're giving up." Training began immediately. Ethan joined too, using outdated fighter jets retrofitted with experimental weapons. Among the recruits was Sophie Nguyen, a young hacker known for her quick thinking. Sophie's job was to intercept Krylon communications and find weaknesses in their technology. Though skeptical of Ethan's old-school methods, she respected his determination. As preparations continued, tensions grew between those who wanted to resist and those who thought surrender was the only option. Some believed cooperating with the Krylons might spare humanity from destruction. Others argued that giving up would mean losing everything: freedom, identity, hope. One evening, Alex looked out the window at the glowing alien ship. "Do you think they'll really destroy us?" he asked Mia quietly. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I do know one thing. We can't let fear stop us from trying." For the first time since the Krylons arrived, Alex felt a flicker of resolve. Whatever happened next, humanity wouldn't go down without a fight. As days passed, the world grew more divided. Some leaders argued that surrendering to the Krylons was the safest choice. They believed humanity couldn't win against such advanced beings and saw no point in risking lives for a hopeless fight. Others insisted on resisting, even if it meant destruction. These debates raged in government buildings, on news channels, and in homes across the globe. Alex Carter and Mia Collins felt this tension deeply. They had joined Captain Laura Hayes' task force, but not everyone shared their determination to fight. Many recruits doubted they could make a difference. "What's the point?" one man muttered during training. "They're light years ahead of us. We're just wasting time." Mia didn't agree. "If we don't try," she said firmly, "we've already lost." Her words didn't convince everyone, but they inspired some. Slowly, the group began working together more effectively, learning how to use old technology in new ways. Ethan Blake faced similar challenges. His team consisted of volunteers, farmers, mechanics, teachers, all willing to risk their lives for Earth. But morale was low. The Krylon ships loomed larger each day, a constant reminder of how outmatched humanity was. Ethan pushed them hard, drilling them until they were exhausted. He knew they wouldn't survive without discipline. One evening, Sophie Nguyen approached Ethan with an idea. She had been analyzing intercepted Krylon communications and noticed something odd. Their shields seemed to fluctuate at specific intervals, almost like breathing. "It might be tied to their neural implants," she explained. If we can figure out the pattern, we could disable them. Ethan nodded thoughtfully. Good work. Keep digging. Sophie smiled faintly. You know, you're not as bad as I thought. Likewise, Ethan replied gruffly. While the team worked tirelessly, tensions between nations escalated. Some countries wanted to negotiate with the Krylons, hoping for mercy. Others prepared for war, stockpiling weapons and fortifying defenses. Captain Hayes tried to unite everyone under a single plan, but cooperation was difficult. Old rivalries resurfaced, making teamwork nearly impossible. Amidst the chaos, Alex and Mia discovered something surprising. During a routine scan of the Krylon fleet, they found traces of another signal, different from the ones sent by the Krylons. It was faint and distorted, but unmistakably alien. When they showed it to Captain Hayes, she frowned. Could it be the Vorthax? She asked. It's possible, Mia admitted, but we can't be sure. The uncertainty weighed heavily on everyone. Were the Krylons truly enemies, or were they victims too? And what about the Vorthax? How close were they? These questions haunted Alex and Mia as they continued their work. Back on the ground, Ethan received unexpected help. A farmer named Daniel Reed offered his land for training exercises. We've got to do something, Daniel said simply. His generosity lifted spirits, reminding everyone why they were fighting. For home, for family, for the future. One night, as Ethan stood outside staring at the stars, Rachel Kim joined him. Do you think we'll make it? She asked softly. I don't know, Ethan admitted. But I do know this. We won't give up without a fight. Rachel smiled faintly. That's all anyone can ask for. Despite the fear and doubt, small acts of courage kept hope alive. People worked together, shared ideas, and supported one another. Humanity wasn't ready to surrender, not yet. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The Krylons struck first. Without warning, their ships descended into Earth's atmosphere, targeting major cities and military bases. Explosions lit up the sky, shaking the ground below. Panic spread as people fled in every direction, desperate to escape the chaos. Buildings crumbled, fires raged, and smoke filled the air. It was a nightmare no one had been prepared for. Alex Carter and Mia Collins watched the attack from their orbital station. The sight of their planet burning below left them speechless. We have to do something, Alex said finally, his voice trembling with anger and fear. Captain Laura Hayes agreed. She ordered Alex and Mia to board a salvaged spacecraft, a patchwork vessel cobbled together from old satellites and spare parts, and gather intelligence on the Krylon fleet. As they launched into space, Alex gripped the controls tightly. He wasn't a soldier, he was just an engineer. But now he had no choice but to fight. Mia sat beside him, her eyes glued to the monitors. Stay focused, she reminded him. We can do this. Their mission led them closer to the Krylon flagship, a massive ship that dwarfed everything around it. Using the craft's stealth systems, they managed to slip past the enemy's defenses. Inside the flagship, they discovered something shocking. Admiral Zinar, the Krylon leader, didn't seem confident about the invasion. In fact, he appeared uneasy, constantly checking updates on another threat, the Vorthax. He's scared, Mia whispered, watching footage of Zinar pacing nervously. He's not just here to conquer us. He's running from something worse. On the ground, Ethan Blake led a daring assault on a Krylon landing site. Armed with retrofitted fighter jets and makeshift weapons, his team fought bravely despite being outnumbered. Sophie Nguyen stayed behind, hacking into the Krylon drone systems. She isolated a frequency modulation linked to the shields, just as she had suspected. I've got it, she shouted over the comms. Hit them at this frequency, and their shields will drop. Ethan relayed the information to his squadron. This is our chance, he said firmly. Make every shot count. The pilots adjusted their weapons and fired. One by one, the Krylon drones faltered, their shields failing. For the first time, humanity tasted victory. But the cost was high. Many lives were lost, including Daniel Reed, who had sacrificed himself to save others during the battle. When Ethan returned to base, he felt the weight of those losses heavily. Sophie approached him, her face streaked with dirt and tears. "We did it," she said softly. "But was it worth it?" Ethan didn't answer right away. He looked at the wreckage around them, then at the weary faces of his team. "It has to be," he said finally. "If we stop fighting, everything we've done means nothing." Meanwhile, Alex and Mia transmitted their findings back to Captain Hayes. The news about Admiral Zinar's fears gave humanity a glimmer of hope. Perhaps the Krylons weren't invincible after all. Perhaps there was room for negotiation, or even alliance. As the battle raged on, small victories began to pile up. Humanity's ingenuity and determination started to turn the tide. For the first time since the Krylons arrived, people dared to believe they might stand a chance. But deep down, they knew the hardest fights were still ahead. The Vorthax were coming, and when they arrived, nothing would ever be the same again. Alex Carter and Mia Collins knew they had to act quickly. The discovery of Admiral Zinar's fear of the Vortex gave humanity a chance. A slim one, but still a chance. They decided to take a risk and contact the Krylon leader directly. Using the salvage spacecraft's communication system, they sent a message to the flagship. It was simple and direct. "We know about the Vortex. If you want to survive, we need to work together." At first, there was no response. Alex and Mia waited anxiously, wondering if their attempt had been foolish. But then, the screen flickered, and Admiral Zinar appeared. His expression was unreadable, his glowing eyes fixed on them. "Why should I trust primitives like you?" he asked, his voice cold. Maya stepped forward, her hands steady despite her nerves. "Because if the Vortex win, none of us will be left. Not you, not us, nothing." Zinar hesitated. He glanced at his advisors, who whispered urgently in their strange language. Finally, he turned back to the screen. "Very well," he said reluctantly. "But if this is a trick, your planet will burn." With the fragile alliance formed, Alex and Mia returned to Earth to share the news. Captain Laura Hayes listened carefully, her face grim. "It's risky," she admitted, "but it might be our only shot." Together, they began planning a joint strategy to defeat the Vortex. Ethan Blake and his team worked tirelessly to prepare for the coming battle. Sophie Nguyen coordinated with Krylon engineers, combining human ingenuity with alien technology. Old fighter jets were upgraded with Krylon weapons, making them faster and more powerful. Supplies were shared, and training intensified. Slowly, mistrust between humans and Krylons began to fade as they worked side by side. The plan was simple but dangerous. They would lure the Vortex into a trap near Saturn's rings, using decoy ships to draw them in. Once the Vortex fleet was concentrated in one area, both human and Krylon forces would strike together, hitting their weak points with everything they had. As the days passed, tension grew. Reports came in that the Vortex were closing in, their biomechanical ships cutting through space like predators hunting prey. Ethan spent long hours preparing his pilots, drilling them until they could execute maneuvers in their sleep. Sophie stayed up late, refining targeting systems and ensuring every ship was ready for combat. One evening, Ethan found himself sitting alone in the control room, staring at the stars. Rachel Kim joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to him and sat down. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world," she said softly. "I feel like I am," Ethan admitted. "If this doesn't work, everyone dies." Rachel nodded. "But if it does, you'll have saved billions. That's worth fighting for." Ethan smiled faintly. "I hope you're right." Finally, the day arrived. The combined human Krylon fleet launched into space, heading toward Saturn. Alex and Mia piloted their makeshift ship, ready to play a critical role in the battle. Ethan led his squadron, his heart pounding as they approached the designated location. The Vortex arrived soon after, their monstrous ships dark and menacing. When the battle began, Chaos erupted. Lasers flashed. Explosions lit up the void, and ships darted through the debris. Alex and Mia flew straight into the heart of the Vorthak flagship, dodging enemy fire as they planted explosives on its central core. Ethan and his pilots executed kamikaze runs, sacrificing themselves to destroy key Vorthak vessels. Through it all, Admiral Zinar fought alongside humanity, leading his forces with unexpected bravery. In the end, it was his decision to confront the Vorthak commander in single combat that turned the tide. Though Zinar fell in the fight, his sacrifice ensured the success of the mission. As the Vorthaks retreated, battered and broken, the survivors celebrated. Humanity had proven itself, not just to the Krylons, but to the galaxy. For the first time, Earth stood united, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The battle was over, but the cost had been high. The void of space was filled with drifting wreckage, pieces of ships, both human and alien, floating silently among the stars. Alex Carter and Mia Collins sat in their small spacecraft, exhausted but alive. Their hands were trembling as they looked at the remains of the Vorthak flagship, now a burning hulk of twisted metal. They had done it, but the victory felt hollow. Ethan Blake's squadron had taken heavy losses. Only a handful of pilots returned, their faces pale and haunted. Ethan himself barely made it back. His fighter jet was scorched and battered, held together by sheer luck. As he stepped out onto the landing platform, Sophie Nguyen ran to him, tears streaming down her face. "You're alive," she whispered, hugging him tightly. Ethan didn't say anything. He just stood there, holding her, letting the weight of everything sink in. Admiral Zinar's sacrifice weighed heavily on everyone. The Krylon leader had faced the Vorthak commander alone, buying time for the fleet to regroup and strike. His bravery had turned the tide of the battle, but it had also cost him his life. When news of his death reached the Krylon forces, there was a moment of stunned silence. Then, one by one, the Krylon soldiers began bowing their heads in respect. For the first time, humanity saw them not as conquerors, but as beings capable of honor and courage. Back on Earth, people gathered in streets and squares, watching the live broadcasts from space. At first, there was disbelief. Had they really won? Was it possible? But as images of the shattered Vorthak fleet appeared on screens, cheers erupted. Strangers hugged each other, relief washing over them like a wave. The fear that had gripped the planet for weeks finally began to lift. Captain Laura Hayes addressed the world from the orbital station. Her voice was calm but firm. "Today we proved something important, not just to ourselves, but to the galaxy. We showed that humanity is stronger than anyone thought. We are resilient, resourceful, and united. And we will never back down." Her words resonated deeply. Across the globe, people started rebuilding. Cities that had been destroyed were cleared, and plans were drawn up to construct new ones. Factories reopened, farms were replanted, and schools welcomed students back. Life slowly began to return to normal, though no one would ever forget what had happened. Alex and Mia returned to Earth as heroes, though neither of them felt like one. They attended memorials for those who had died, listening to stories of bravery and sacrifice. During one ceremony, Maya leaned over and whispered to Alex, "Do you think we'll ever feel safe again?" Alex shook his head. "Probably not. But maybe that's okay. Maybe being scared is part of being alive." Sophie worked tirelessly to analyze the technology left behind by the Krylons and Vorthaks. She believed it could help humanity advance further, ensuring they would never be caught unprepared again. Ethan joined her efforts, using his experience to train new pilots. Together, they dreamed of building a defense system strong enough to protect Earth from any future threats. As the days turned into weeks, the Krylon survivors prepared to leave. Their mission, to conquer Earth, had failed, but they had found something unexpected: respect. Before departing, they shared valuable knowledge with humanity, teaching them how to harness energy and build faster ships. Admiral Zinar's final act had forged an uneasy but genuine bond between two species that once saw each other as enemies. On the day the Krylons departed, Ethan stood outside, watching their massive ships disappear into the sky. Rachel Kim stood beside him, her arms crossed. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. Ethan sighed. "We rebuild, we learn, and we keep looking up at the stars, ready for whatever comes next." For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt a flicker of hope. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger. The scars would remain, but so would the lessons. Whatever the future held, they were ready. Months passed, and Earth began to heal. The scars of the battle were still visible. Burnt fields, broken cities, and empty homes. But life went on. People worked together in ways they never had before. Nations that once fought over borders now shared resources and ideas. Humanity had faced extinction and come out stronger, united by a common purpose. Alex Carter returned to his job at the Orbital Research Station, but things were different now. He wasn't just fixing satellites. He was helping design new technologies based on what Sophie Nguyen had learned from the Krylons. The old spacecraft he and Mia had used during the battle became a symbol of hope, displayed in a museum dedicated to the conflict. Visitors came from all over the world to see it, marveling at how something so simple had played such a big role in saving Earth. Mia Collins threw herself into her work as well. She studied samples brought back from space, searching for clues about alien ecosystems. Her discoveries fascinated scientists and inspired others to dream bigger. Late at night, she often called Alex, and they talked about the future. "Do you think we'll ever meet another species like the Krylons?" she asked one evening. "Maybe," Alex replied. "But next time, we won't be caught off guard." Ethan Blake spent most of his time training new pilots. The old jets had been replaced with sleeker models, powered by hybrid engines combining human and Krylon technology. Ethan pushed his students hard, teaching them not just how to fly but how to think quickly and adapt. Sophie Nguyen joined him occasionally, explaining the science behind their upgraded systems. Though neither of them said it, they both felt a deep sense of responsibility, to honor those who had died, and to prepare for whatever might come next. One day, Ethan visited a memorial built for the fallen. It stood on a hill overlooking the ocean, its walls engraved with thousands of names. He walked slowly, reading each one. Daniel Reed's name caught his eye, and he paused, remembering the farmer who had given so much to help. Ethan placed a hand on the cold stone and whispered, "We did it. You'd be proud." Rachel Kim stayed busy too. She traveled the world, sharing her knowledge about the Vortex and urging governments to invest in defense systems. Her warnings weren't meant to scare people. They were meant to remind them to stay vigilant. At night, she wrote letters to her family, telling them stories of bravery and resilience. She hoped future generations would learn from what had happened. As the months turned into years, humanity looked toward the stars with newfound confidence. Space exploration became a priority, funded by countries working together for the first time in history. New ships were launched, carrying explorers eager to discover what lay beyond Earth's solar system. Alex and Mia dreamed of joining one of these missions someday, ready to face the unknown. In a quiet moment, Ethan stood outside his cabin, gazing up at the night sky. The stars seemed brighter now, full of possibilities instead of fear. Rachel joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "The future," Ethan replied. "It's scary, but exciting too." Rachel smiled. "That's because we're part of it. We survived the impossible, Ethan. There's no limit to what we can do." Far away, in the depths of space, remnants of the Vorthak horde drifted silently, their threat neutralized, for now. Humanity knew better than to let its guard down. But for the first time, they also knew they weren't alone. Earth had taken its place among the stars, proving that even the smallest voice could make itself heard when it mattered most. And so, Life continued. The wounds of the past healed, but the lessons remained. Humanity had stepped out of the shadows, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. For every star in the sky held a story, and Earth's story was just beginning.